Hi, I'm Wade from Thoroughbred Diesel, and today we're going to be teaching you how to remove and reinstall the turbocharger, the stock turbo, from your 1999.5 to 2003 7.3 Powerstroke. 7.3 Powerstrokes, luckily, very easy to get the turbo off and on. There's a lot of different reasons, obviously, that you'd have your turbo off the truck. If you have a turbo failure, if you're working on maybe oil leaks or something, which is very common on these trucks. Another thing is maybe you're going to have to remove the turbo because you're going to be doing a wicked wheel installation, which is one of the things that we're going to be doing in this to this truck. So you can link back and check that video out of what the wicked wheel does for your stock turbo. But with those things in mind, we really just wanted to make sure that we had a video for our customers that are having to do a turbo replacement for whatever the reason may be. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to show you how to do it from start to finish. Got our battery cables off. Going to go ahead and start with our installation here, or our removal, excuse me. First thing you're going to start with is the air intake. This has just got a big honking air filter, BHAF, so it's pretty easy. So we just got to be on this side of the PCV valve and just remove the air intake. Next, we're going to remove the driver's side intercooler pipe. So 11 metric, go ahead and loosen your clamps up. And then we're going to go after our bottom one. Then we will go ahead and remove our intercooler pipe. All right, now we're going to take the turbo mouthpiece off. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. If your truck has still got the PCV hose that's got the permanent clamps on them, like this one right here, what you can do is just cut this clamp off and then replace it with cut this style of clamp off and then replace it with a worm drive clamp like we've done here, or was already done to the truck. So there's two 8 metric bolts that hold this to the bar there, to the standard. So we're just going to go ahead and remove those. Then we will, I've already loosened up the clamp at the turbo. Okay, so we've already got that one loose. If it'll let you push it out of the way, all it's got to do is clear. If not, you're going to have to go after this PCV clamp. So that's what I want to do real quick. All right, now that lets that come loose, and then our mouthpiece comes off. Watch for this wastegate line. This was disconnected, so all right. All right, now we're going to remove the passenger side intercooler pipe. We're going to go ahead and remove our bottom one first because we were out of the truck. We got ready for this shot, so. Before you go up top, start yanking on your pipe, make sure that you got your hose clamp cleared. Then we're just going to do our top one. gotta watch my clamps here. Watch your trans dipstick. I'm just gonna back the pipe out, and then once it clears, like I said, it's just a little bit tighter on this side, but not a big deal. Just take your time getting it out. Okay, so now we're gonna be working on getting the intake plenum off of here, or the intake spider, however you want to refer to it. First thing to do is to start with the air valve here, and just go ahead and unhook the electrical portion of that, and then pop off the lines like so. Be careful here because you can tear that boot up on those. Next, we are going to remove our 2 wires to the air intake heater, and I'm looking for my 10 metric that I just had my hands on.
I'll put it in the tray.
No, let me put it in the tray. That's not it. Ah, found it. Sorry about that. So 10 metric on the intake air heater here. 2 lines. Watch your valve there if you're working. I'll go ahead and spin that off with a ratchet. And wires are the only thing that needs to come off here, so everything else can pretty much stay. And the nut is made into that. And then you just have to look at the orientation of the wires, so your large eyelet goes behind the bushing there. So we've got that in out. We've got those wires out. Now, on the bottom of the spider here, there is another temp sensor here. I've got the light, tried to canter it away from Adam. We're going to go ahead and unhook this sensor. I'm going to leave the map line hooked up because I just run it out of the way there. And then you've got another air line here that will get unhooked that goes to the wastegate. And there, that's got pretty much all of our connections at the spider open. There is a worm drive clamp on it as well. Go ahead and loosen and remove that clamp. All right, we're ready to go ahead and get the intake spider out. There are 2 clamps on both intake plenum boots. They're 5/16, just worm drive. You can loosen those up, move them down there, have them ready to come on, have them ready for the plenum to come off. Same thing on the other side, no need to see it. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just loosen them up. Usually a little bit of oil saturation here. So, because of course this motor's PCV, so really not a whole lot of difficulty here. So I just remove them from the plenum boots. All right, and my bushing came off there for the intake air heater, but that's okay. So we're just going to flip this over out of our way wherever it's safe. Once the spider is out, the next thing that I like to do is I like to try to go for the downpipe clamp. This downpipe clamp, the way it's oriented, I can't get a deep well socket on it because of the manufacturing process. That's usually not the case, but it is today because that's the way my luck goes. So gonna take me a little while to get this loosened up where I need it to be, but I'm gonna do that real quick. We're gonna cut away and then I'm gonna show you how to get this clamp off. We've got our clamp loose, as you can see. And there's a lot of different ways. These clamps, let me show you. I'll show you on the other clamp, but I don't have it here with me. These clamps are 3-eared V-band clamps. And what I found is the easiest way to do this is I've got the smallest size ladyfinger, heel bar, whatever you want to call it, that they make, that I know of. And it's almost perfect to go here on the turbo flange and right underneath of the V-band, and then pop it right like that. And then I've already got an ear loose right there. Then for my next one, I can get, this is just 3 ears on that, I can get a bar, just another prize bar, and go right there. Sometimes you get lucky, you can get the heel bar in there again. And then I'll just do my top one right here. Same thing, just get a prize bar and work it around. It takes some practice. Couple of different ways you got to try to do it, and you just got to keep working at it. It's frustrating. Try not. This is another reason not to work on a hot truck. But so yeah, there you go. There's 2 on that one. So all I have to do is get the back one now, and that back one's probably going to require some cursing. And this is a family show. So Adam and I, we're gonna cut away, and I'll work on getting it. So what I use is just my pry bar here, and old trusty ball peen hammer. Not a whole lot, just took a little love tap at the end of it. She came. So just get that clamp away from the turbo, and we're good to go. Now it's time to move to the up pipe clamp, and it's not fun. I wanted to take the camera from Adam here and kind of show you what we're after. So we were after this clamp on the back of the turbo housing. I'm going to zoom in on the ear of the clamp right there. Hopefully the camera will zoom in on it, or will focus. Right there. So in your screen, right there at the end of my finger, is the bolt for the clamp, the rear clamp. Try this again, right there. There's the clamp right there. Same process here. This is a V-band clamp. Same deal with the ears. It's just hard to get to. I'm gonna give the camera back to Adam here. And again, really no magic trick here. I do like to leave the turbo bolted down for this. Some people will unbolt it and try to get the clamp loose and just shake the turbo and see if they can shake it loose. I like to leave the turbo bolted down, try to work from the ears like I was showing you. So, and it's 11 metric, and we're gonna go after it. On top side creeper, you're pretty much working on it blind. You're working by feel at this point. There is a coolant line there to be aware of. Watch out for it. Okay. All right. Everything's loose. Now the fun begins. Just start working on the ears. Really, again, there's nothing I can tell you that's just gonna get it every time. You just kind of got to grab it and growl. When we cut away on our last shot in removing the turbo, we kind of cheaped you out just a little bit, honestly. I told you to go after the back clamp there, and it didn't really give you directive as to how to go after the back clamp. If you're watching this, you probably struggle with the back clamp. The up pipe clamp to the turbo is absolutely the worst clamp that you're going to deal with in this job, hands down. More than likely, you probably got one ear of it stuck, and you're just fighting with it. So I'm going to show you how we did it, and I feel like that 99.9% of the situations, it's going to get you where you need to be. Now, take into consideration on this, this is going to be an orientation of how they put the clamps back on your up pipes. Now, I'm going to be very conscious of this when I'm going back with this turbo, is how I orient this clamp to make sure that we've got access to it. Turbo's never been off this truck that we're aware of. Clamp orientation was perfect. Talk to you about how I did it. The clamp is 3 ears. It's a V-band clamp, and it's got 3 ears on it. The first ear, passenger side ear, we'll say, super easy to get to. We were able to access it with this prise bar, and all I did was just set the pry bar up against the ear, tap on it with a rubber mallet, pop the first ear out. Ear number 1 is disengaged. Second ear is where it got really, really tricky. The second ear was the driver's side ear. It was on the very top. You're thinking when you hear you say that, that sounds really easy. It's not easy. The orientation of it against the firewall makes it impossible for you to be able to get a prise bar from the other way and knock it off of there. So here's a little tool that we've got here at the shop that was a lot of help. This is an OTC, Oscar Tango Charlie, OTC slide hammer, £1.5 slide hammer. You can find these on OTC's website. You can get them on Amazon, anywhere. £1.5 slide hammer, and then this fitting that went along with it was just kind of like a lady finger. What that allowed me to do was I was able to get the slide hammer back here on the clamp, okay? One knock with it, pops the clamp right out, no problem. This little tool right here is a lifesaver. Good thing to have inside your shop. You've probably got a big slide hammer, of course, everybody probably does. These little slide hammers like this are super, super nice to have. Pulling seals out, seals that you don't have to worry about messing up. Just pulling seals out and stuff, just a super, super easy tool, made it really easy. That left us with our third ear. The third ear was in the downward direction, had just enough space, went in with it with a chisel on top, just tapped it lightly with a small hammer, and it popped right off. So we've got our back clamp on the up pipes, we've got it done. Now, I want to talk to you about pulling these turbos out. I don't pull them with the pedestal on it. It's easier to remove the two 13 metric bolts on the top and pull this out in 2 different pieces. Pull the turbo out and then go after the pedestal. You're going to have oil leaks at the pedestal. All 7.3s leak at the oil pedestal. You're going to be wanting to check for leaks there. You can look inside this engine bay. You can tell the amount of oil. I'll let Adam zoom in there. You can look at the amount of oil on that base. That needs to be resealed anyway. So base is going to have to come out once we get the turbo out, and then we're going to reseal that pedestal up too. All right, so now it's time to roll the turbo out. We're ready to go with everything. The first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to leave this light right here in the thing. Hope it doesn't hinder your shot, doesn't mess it up, does it, Adam? Okay, passenger side of the truck, we're going to be disconnecting the EB valve. First off, there's a little slide on the EB valve coming from the pedestal, a black little clip. You just push it straight back, and then you can grab the EB rod and just kind of pull it straight down and get it ready to disengage from the pedestal. I'll kind of let Adam zoom in on that underneath of there, if he can get underneath of there to see it. You can see the rod where I've got it disengaged there from the pedestal, and she's ready to pop out. Now it's as easy as pulling off the two 13 metrics in the top of the turbo. So I'm going to slide past Adam, and I'm going to do that real quick. I suggest changing these bolts out as well when you're doing this job. We're going to give you the part number for the Garrett install kit for this. We offer a couple of other companies that have this install kit for the 7.3 turbo. Line Power being one of them. All good stuff. Doesn't matter what you use, just make sure you use an install kit, because we suggest replacing not only this O-ring, but the O-rings at the top part of the pedestal to turbo, and then pedestal to block as well. So we'll pull this last bolt out. Adam's going to kind of shimmy in here for a shot. Check my clamp, make sure it's off, and it is. Push it down there. Now I'm ready to just kind of start rocking the turbo off of the pedestal, And I like to try to pull up on it as much as I can to try to get the EB rod disengaged. I got it. So now, just kind of start walking it out. We'll get my light, clear everything. I'm gonna kind of darken up the shot just a little bit. Sorry, Adam. Oh. Okay. We'll just come right on that other turbo there. Okay. Turn it face towards you once you get it clear of the pedestal. And then just kind of slide it out. Gonna be a little bit of inside of there, but you're pretty well good to go. All right. There's our turbo removed. Now, if you've purchased a turbo with pedestal with us, you will have to go back in for the pedestal, but the turbo is out. This video is going to be linked to several different installations, one of them being Wicked Wheel install. If you're just doing a Wicked Wheel install, you can pretty well stop right here. Again, don't mean to beat a dead horse, but go after the pedestal, seal the pedestal up. I'll let Adam kind of climb up on there on the creeper, and I'm gonna hold the camera for him for just a second. He's gonna climb up on the creeper, and I'm gonna give him the camera back, and he's gonna show you just how much oil residue is in that engine valley around that turbo pedestal. I'm gonna give him a little bit of light there. You can see that that's definitely gonna need to be sealed up as well. Okay, first I want to show you, before we take our pedestal out of the truck, I want to show you this clamp outside of the truck so you can understand kind of what's going on for you guys that are fighting with it. So, obviously clamp orientation is like this. Up pipes are the other side of the V-band clamp. So what we did, the way this turbo was oriented, we went with one side of it first. So we used a chisel to take this ear apart first. Let me show you the structure of the ears again. See, there's 3 ears in this V-band clamp. All right, so chisel and hammer, we were able to knock this loose. This gives us enough of a gap. This is where the slide hammer came in. Slide hammer, you get it right here on the clamp. It'll be down and it'll be tight. You just get enough there. One pop with it, that knocks the next ear out. Then this gives you access to the ear at the bottom to get the bottom out. Now that sounds fine. It sounds like it's super easy to do. Obviously, you're going to be in the truck. It's not going to be as easy. Just keep working at it. Fabricate a tool to get to it if you need to. You know, you just got to adapt and overcome on it. But hope you guys get it. Just wanted to show you outside of the truck what you were working with there. Now it's time to remove our pedestal. Our pedestal, there are 4 10 metric bolts. One here, one kind of behind that intake plenum boot, and then 2 on the back, kind of right beside each other where my socket is, kind of orientation on it. So we'll just go ahead and pop these 4 bolts loose. Now for our 2 a little bit more difficult ones in the back. Deep well 10 metric socket and a swivel head ratchet. Should be able to get them. This one's going to need a shallow well mid-depth. All right, we'll be right back. To get to the back bolt here, used a mid-depth 10 metric swivel head ratchet again. and nothing to do here, but just go ahead and run it out. In fact, I could probably get to the other one. With power drive. Wrong on that. Two, three. Still tight. All right, there's our fourth one. All right, to get the pedestal out, you just simply pull forward on it. The oil connection is at the back here, so you've got to kind of prise at the back to get it out. You'll have a little bit of residual oil there, so be wary of that. And here is your pedestal. You can see lots of different places to leak. This EB solenoid here, this is bad. It's no good. It's already blown out there. You can see some of the copper. It's gotten hot. It's not functioning, doing anything. So we are going to replace this pedestal in our video about the blank pedestal and EB valve. So check that out. We'll link you to that in this. But let's show you the engine valley here, and Adam can do that. Show you the valley, what we do there. You'll want to, obviously, you're going to want to clean up your oil. There is a drain right here for the oil. You can see it. I'll kind of uncover it there. That drain right there needs to be clear. And you also want to make sure that you get something to cover this to keep anything from falling down in there. So again, just clean everything up around here before you go to your installation. So that's going to be our halfway point of how to remove a 7.3 turbocharger and pedestal. So we will now show you the proper way to install a turbo and pedestal. It's time to reinstall our turbo on our 7.3 Powerstroke here. Remember, we are going with the blank EB pedestal and the blank EB valve on our turbo. We have a link inside of this video to get you to the installation of those. So let's go ahead and get started with our installation of this. Now, first off, I want to say a word about our Garrett install kit. This Garrett install kit, we had this comboed with the blank pedestal and other options that you've got. If you need this kit, we'll have it comboed up with it. This comes with all the O-rings that you need, the mounting hardware, the clip for the EB valve if you're going to use it. Then it comes with a new C clip for the wastegate, which is really nice, because if you take the wastegate off when you're doing your Wicked Wheel install, that's going to be a good way to lose it. So cleaned everything out in this area back here. First thing we're going to do inside of our Garrett installation kit for the 7.3, you're going to get 4 O-rings. 2 of them are going to be the same size, so the oil feed and then the oil return. The oil feed is the small one, the return is the larger one. I just like to go ahead and lube them up just a little bit, and then I'll put them in the recess. So the recess for the O-rings is actually on the motor side, and the flat portion is going to be on the pedestal. So I'm gonna go ahead, I've already cleaned this up. I'm gonna go ahead and drop my O-rings in. Get them ready for the pedestal. The pedestal before you put it on, you can see this is flat here. Just wanna make sure you wipe this down really good. You don't have any kind of contaminants there. So we're gonna go ahead and lay our pedestal on. You just try to set it where it goes there. And you want to try to not fool around with it too much. Now we've got our 4 10 metric headed bolts that go in here. I use a little Loctite on these bolts. Manual doesn't tell you to do that, but I like it. I don't want to have to go back after these suckers because they're not easy to get to with the turbo on the truck. In fact, it's impossible. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten these 4 bolts down on our pedestal. These are 10 metric headed. The torque spec for these is 18 foot-pounds. So we will tighten the 4 bolts up. Let's cut there. So we have mounted our pedestal now, torqued all 4 of our bolts down to 18 foot-pounds. Now we're ready to go with the turbo itself. So we want to again put in 2 O-rings. I'll just glue these up for a better seal here. And make sure your pedestal is clean, free of debris. Inside of your new Garrett mounting kit, if you ordered one, there are 2 new bolts. We're going to be using them here. We will be torquing these down to the same as what the 4 mounting bolts are. These get torqued to 18 foot-pounds. My assistant Hunter is going to hand me the turbo and we will weasel it in here. All right. Before you head down with it, you just want to check the bottom of the turbo, make sure there's no contaminants there, clean that surface, clean your oil. I'll turn it around here so everybody can see it. Clean your oil surface up so you've got a good seal here. We've already done that, but just wiping everything off there. So we're ready. All right. So now we'll just kind of wiggle the turbo in. And get to a spot where you can kind of clear everything too. Makes it really nice. Okay, looks good. I think my O-rings look good there. I'm gonna lift it up for just a second. I'm gonna let Alright, once it falls in position, we will drop our 2 bolts in. So these two bolts right here, we're going to tighten down to 18 foot-pounds apiece. So working on the back clamp here, not a lot that we're going to really be able to show you. Yeah, just trying to go after it as best we can. It's a good idea to have the clamp on the truck side pipe before you put the turbo in. Ask me how I know. If you don't, you can get the clamp on there. So if you haven't got it on, you can get the clamp on there. It is just a really big pain in the butt to do it like that. So save yourself the hassle. Do it the easy way. Have the clamp in there before you go. So I had to spring this clamp out just a little bit. So should have her started right there. Gonna slip in and get the nut on. So if you got that far, you're pretty well home free. I like to turn the clamp, and I'm going to move my hand here. I'm going to turn this. I like to turn this clamp up because this is the easiest way. In this position right here, if I have to go back after this, that is going to be the easiest position for me to have it in, is for that clamp to be up like so. So we're going to go ahead and tighten the back clamp up. It's all downhill from here. If you got your back clamp on and tightened up like we have, congratulations to you. Congratulations to us. We've done a hell of a job. All right, so now let's get our downpipe lined up here. It usually slips on pretty easy. You usually don't have a whole lot of problems with it, but doing it one-handed sometimes can be really fun. So there, now that I've got my clamp lined up, you can see the downpipe lines up fine. Now I'll just fight my clamp right here. Probably can't see it the way you need to.
No, we got good on the clamp.
Okay, you got good on the clamp. All right. So all I'm going to do now is tighten the downpipe clamp up. Now what we're going to do, and of course this EB valve, this is a high flow EB valve. Sorry, the valve's not here anymore. On your truck, if it's a stock truck, the valve will still be here. Inside of our Garrett installation kit, you get a new clip for that. This clip needs to go back on there, so no problem there. That's easy enough. And then next, also in the Garrett kit, the install kit, you're going to get a new one of these sealing rings for the out charge side. Good catch, yeah. So just pop that O-ring out, put your new one in, make that seal. So there we go. So we got a new O-ring here. So now we're ready to start buttoning everything up around the turbo. All right, now that we've got our turbo clamps on, we're ready to put our intake plenum in here. So first thing you want to do is just make sure that you've got your clamps out of the way here, and you want to be really cautious of this plenum because it's very soft metal here. So you can bend it, and then that just kind of messes everything up. So just have these clamps really loose and go ahead and swing our intake back over. And what I like to do is I like to start it down on one side and then just kind of keep working it. You'll have to kind of just keep pulling up and working, hold your mouth just right, and you'll get to a point between these two boots to where you've got a little bit of material there to work with. And then the best way to do it at that point is to take a pick and roll that boot across the plenum, just like so, and then the plenum will fall right in, just like that. All right, on our intake spider here, we're going to go ahead and tighten down both of our clamps. This clamp on driver's side here, same thing on the passenger side. Position them is where you can get to them here. And then we need to put our clamp on here on the intake to the turbo side. Now, one point here, make sure before you go with the intake spider here You want to make sure that you've got all of your wires up here. You want the ground up for the intake air heater, the intake air heater hose. You want your vacuum lines out, electrical hookups. We won't have to be hooking up the, we won't have to hook up the EB valve, but we want to make sure our sensor here is ready to be hooked up. So yeah, so go ahead and put our clamp on as well, have it turned to where we can work with it. I'll try to stay out of Adam's way here. All right, so we'll just tighten everything down, and then we'll head for all of our air and electrical connections. All right, let's go ahead and do the electrical portion of this install. I think Adam's got plenty of light there. So we're gonna start with our intake air heater, which is on the passenger side outlet. So we wanna bring our ground wire up for that. The ground wire goes on the bare stud by itself. And then we've got an isolator that goes on, just like so. And then you will catch the power wire for the intake air heater that goes on, like so. Then we'll come back and tighten that down. Can't get my fingers to work. All right, now the sensor in the plenum is going to be the black connector. There's two 2-pin connectors here. They would fit on either one. The black connector goes to the bottom, and then the green connector goes to the air valve on the top. Then if you guys have left your EB valve in place, your EB valve would be in play here. It would be this male style drop. It is not in place on our truck, so we're going to tape that one up because it's got exposed wires on it. We'll fix that another time. But now it's time to do the vacuum lines. So we're going to do our vacuum setup like this. Come behind the electrical connector, and the vacuum lines will go back on the valve. Just hold the valve so you don't break it. Your wastegate line is the red line, and it has got a drop on it that goes back to the plenum, as you can see right there. And then this will feed over to our air intake tube, and this green one will feed to the air intake, I'm sorry, and then the red one goes over to our wastegate control. Next up, passenger side intercooler pipe. So just kind of fish these down through. This is extra special little treat right here on an excursion. But it's all right. Get there. Real careful of the map. That's what I see most guys make the mistake of here, doing this job, is they wind up hitting the map and breaking it. So if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, you can simply take the 3 bolts off the map, the 3 nuts off the map plate, and pull the map out. There is a battery wire that goes across on these. It's really a lot of fun, but there we are, we got it. So go ahead and make your connection here. Again, be careful of the map. Make your connection at top side, and then don't forget the connection down here at the intercooler. Now on to the driver's side intercooler pipe. Driver's side intercooler pipe routing. this discharge pipe behind the power steering pump here, just like it came out. So another good reason to have your battery cables off here, because again, working around the alternator, so can get a little squirrely. Like so. So we'll line up our intercooler boot here, which puts us in line at the plenum. And there we go. I'll get the clamp on here, and then we'll get the driver's side intercooler pipe tightened down. We want to put our turbo mouthpiece on now. I like to put my line on for my wastegate after this, so we'll go ahead and slap the mouthpiece on. Then it gets lined up here with the PCV hose, or the CCV hose, let's see. Then our elbow goes on here for the wastegate itself. So at that point we can put our wastegate line on. Then our green line going back to the plenum goes in there, and then our bolts that hold the turbo mouthpiece on will go in here. So that's what we'll do here. We will get everything lined up and get it tightened up. Don't forget to tighten your clamp. If you use a worm drive clamp back, don't forget to tighten the clamp back up on the vent. And yeah, don't get your watch caught on a bolt. All right, next is going to be install our air intake. Of course, this in our stock box, as everybody knows, this is our BHAF or B whatever. Yeah, big honking air filter, but the Ford version. So we'll go ahead and tighten it down, and then our last piece is going to be to put all of our positive battery cables on. So this is going to be the conclusion of our turbo installation for 7.3 Powerstrokes. Now, Adam had asked me a good question about priming this turbo. Where this is, the oil pressure is coming to this from the bottom. There's really not a quote-unquote prime that you're going to do here. So your oil pressure comes from the bottom. Drain is on the bottom of the turbo as well. So there's not really a prime procedure here. You know, most of the time when you do a turbo swap like this, always a good idea to also do an oil change on these trucks, because if you had a turbo failure could have been because of an oil contamination issue. You want to make sure that, number one, if it is oil contamination, you have that identified, oil sample analysis, and then figure out where your contamination came from. So that's it. That is removing and installing a factory turbo on a 7.3 Powerstroke. This was in our 2000 Excursion. So I'm Wade from Thoroughbred Diesel. Like and subscribe to our channel. You can comment below on your experiences on putting on turbo, or any other ideas that you have. So thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and arrivederci.